Sonic X Episode 52. Now that we're finally in Season 3, the show's gonna really get interesting. At least it should in theory, because they're back on Mobius where the show should have been the whole time. Most importantly, they're not on Earth anymore. We start out with Eggman announcing in his egg carrier that he's returned to Mobius and the people of the city have to surrender or be destroyed. And we see some small animals run away while panicking like the people. This reminded me of really early Fleetway, like the first few issues, so it's not original Take It Japan. This kind of confusing art style does look better than the beady-eyed Fleetway citizens, or the generic OC from Deviant art style from Archie. It's still weird to have them look like normal animals, though. So I wonder how they're gonna manage to show off Mobius while simultaneously showing as little of Mobius as possible because Sega Japan hates it. All I get to see so far is this, and then Amy arbitrarily saying no to living with vanilla and cream. It's now at night because apparently Eggman didn't take over or destroy that city in all that time. He dances to a disco ball for no reason because comedy relief, and his robots complain about being hit. Amy tells Eggman off for the time of the day, and she gets furious and literally bursts into flames when someone tells her that Sonic just can't stand to be with her anymore. And since the characters actually comment on her being on fire, it's clear that this is literally a special power she has. I wish she used it to be useful. The robots panic about Amy being mad and wonder if they should stop provoking her. Rouge wonders why Sonic hasn't shown up yet. Is this line gonna summarize the whole episode? Because I don't think Sonic's not a Mobius yet and his friends are waiting for him is enough story material to make a 20-minute long episode. That's one of the show's biggest problems. Why did Rouge hit Knuckles on the head? She tells him that she's sick of him saying that she's just a jewel thief and doesn't know stuff. And she actually tells him that she finds him unlikable. If that's the case, why does she insist on hanging out with him all the time? And why does she attack him again? If this is a ship, it's an abusive relationship. Oh, why do they have to cut away from Rouge fighting Knuckles? Because the animators got lazy. It's unacceptable that this lazy animation with the action scenes is still a problem even in Season 3. Tails gets mad at Eggman and says he's never helping him, even to find Sonic. And Eggman wants to lure Tails into a trap, so he lures him away when they're both flying planes. Cream tells Amy to come back inside because her tea's getting cold, clearly being scared of her. This is why I can't find her sisterly friendship with her as heartwarming as Sonic and Tails. Out of nowhere, Tails hears Chuck's voice on Mobius, and he tells him that he modified the X-Tornado and the plane is made of a special material, and it transforms into the Hyper Tornado. This is just a recording of his voice, right? It has to be. Eggman seems to get electrocuted, and Tails starts firing missiles at his airships as I still feel like nothing's really going on in the episode. Tails fires a fire blast at the airship, but of course Eggman says he's wasting his time as it looks undamaged and he threatens Tails with a missile. I don't feel like there's much stakes. Because sure, he threatened a city, but it's not one that I have an attachment to. Am I supposed to assume that's Sonic's home city, where all his friends live? So he'd be ruling over Amy if he took over the city. Isn't she in the suburbs, though? I don't feel like Eggman's a threat because Tails is here to defend the city. Even if it is Sonic X Tails who barely does anything. He may as well be glued to his pilot's chair. Eggman's robots applaud him for doing a good job on the Tails missile. And Eggman, out of nowhere, says that Tails had learned his lesson, and he can recall the missile. And his robots apologize to him and say they can't, for some reason. And Eggman panics because now Tails really could be destroyed. Granted, this is really refreshing and fascinating for Eggman, but it's out of nowhere. This guy tried to destroy Station Square a lot, and he threatened to destroy a city in this very episode. But he at least justifies that he needs Tails alive so we can have an enemy to have fun with. Suddenly, Super Sonic shows up to bail Tails out, and sends Eggman flying away in his Eggmobile, somehow not dying. And Tails is relieved at having him back. It was weird that Sonic said Eggman won't conquer this world either, as if this is the first time Eggman's tried to conquer Mobius. And Deco and Boko sound cheerful about the idea of getting even with Sonic, even though just a few episodes ago, they were happy to be working with the Thorndikes. It's always going to be weird to me from now on that they're still working for Eggman after that. Rouge is told she looks awful and gets into a tickle fight with Knuckles, but of course that's off screen too, because the animators are just that shockingly lazy. Amy knows Sonic's back, so I wonder how the hell he went super in the first place. Did he warp back to Mobius conveniently having all 7 emeralds right next to him, when usually they scatter away from each other? I like the violin music being all happy when Amy reunites with Sonic. I already knew about the scene before I watched this episode for the first time. Amy starts crying because she's so relieved that she got to see Sonic again. Was she worried that he really did get sick of her and would never come back? Did she think he died and that's why it took so long? She even says she was worried and scared that she'd never see him again. It feels extremely stupid that he took that long to reunite with her, just because he spent a few days with Chris. Sonic is just smiling at her lecturing, probably because he thinks that she was worried about him. But it's just another way Sonic is weird in the show, because a normal person with actual social skills would just feel sad because his friend's crying in front of him. She just keeps on repeating herself over and over that she thought he was gone forever. This is typical badly translated anime script, where the character keeps repeating themselves redundantly, like in Mega Man X6. Instead of her repeating her point, she should have told us how long Sonic's been gone from her perspective. That's what I assumed she'd do. She's acting like she thought Sonic was dead for a year. Though even when Sally thought Sonic died for a year, while she was crying at his statue when he reunited with her, she didn't act anything like this. But Amy's way more emotional than Sally, who suppressed her feelings for months until they explode out of her. Amy starts crying, even though she said she's never been so happy. And Sonic offers her a rose out of complete nowhere. He says he'll never leave her, and she gives him a hug, and even though he looks awkward, he smiles and hugs right back. In the French version, he actually says he loves her when he hands her a rose. It makes sense since he was handing her a rose. And hey, she's Amy Rose. We see Chris as an adult scientist. We're told that he's still friends with Danny and Francis, even as an adult when school kids abandon each other after school's done. And Helen, who's with him, reminds us that Chuck designed her car for her, and Chris isn't a great driver. We're told that Chris wants to make a machine to go to Mobius, and Danny says it's been 6 years since Sonic left Mobius. So we got an actual number. When Sonic goes through the portal to Mobius, it's a wormhole that takes him through space-time, so he goes through time as well. I guess that's it. At first I thought we'd see reused footage in that flashback, but fortunately we got some new dialogue. Sonic gives him a brief piggyback ride. Oh, never mind. For no reason at all, we're given a flashback of Chris convincing Shadow to be good, and him turning super because of Chris. What does that have to do with anything? We also see pointless reused footage of Chris breaking out of the bonds from sheer stubbornness and getting the Chaos Emeralds, and then him begging Sonic to take him with him to Mobius. Why did they need to pad out the episode with reused footage? Well, that should be illegal. Why couldn't they have an episode with an actual plot? They wasted the entire first episode of Season 3 on a plot as basic as Sonic's friends are waiting for him to come home and they talk about it. That's literally all that happened in 20 minutes. That's the whole plot. There's nothing to say. The whole extent of the world building in Mobius this episode, which was the whole thing we looked forward to since the anime started, is that we saw some small talking animal straight out of Fleetway run away from a city because Eggman's threatening it. That's just a few seconds, and that seems no different from Earth. Eggman threatens the city yet again. But since he reveals that he didn't even want to destroy Tails and was just trying to scare him, there's no reason to find him a menacing villain who could actually be a threat to the city. Because it's obvious he's done character development and stopped actually wanting to destroy his enemies. He's just playing at this point. He's just bothering Sonic and his friends to play a game. To be fair, if you read the X comic, he realized he was happier being admired and loved when he disguised himself as a wrestler. So if there's one good thing to come out of that comic, it's a justification for why Eggman's not as evil anymore. I certainly found it refreshing. I've never seen him like that. It's just weird compared to how he started the anime out. Bottom line is, this episode was just a waste of time, and that's not a good note to start a season out. On the bright side, even in spite of this episode, this is easily the season I'm the most interested in, because it's not taking place on boring Earth anymore. It took until season 3 to become as interested in this show as I was when I was reviewing the shows before it, because in season 2, I really had to force myself to watch the show. It really is stupid that Sonic apparently took like 6 months to get to Mobius, when he only delayed going through the portal for a few days. And it's not like a few days on Earth is 6 months in Mobius time, because 6 months in Mobius time is 6 years on Earth time. You'd think that he would have come home a lot earlier, and you'd think he would have come home through the same portal as the other characters went through. He has no reason not to have reunited with them a long time ago. It's very dumb. He didn't stay on Earth for 6 years, so why is he reuniting with his friends so late? He had no choice but to go back home through the same portal they would have gone through, so there would be no excuse for him to take so long to reunite with them. In fact, since Earth time goes faster, Sonic taking a few extra days should have been nothing in Mobius time, where 6 years is going to turn out to translate to 6 Mobian months. He would have reunited with his friends just a few hours later. And while it is kind of heartwarming just how worried Amy was about Sonic, to the point of crying about it, ultimately, after how angry and tantrumy she was in the same very episode, it's hard for me to find as heartwarming as the show wanted me to.